Hello everyone, this is Miss Rowan tuning in for Thrifty Thursday yet again. This time I'm outside in my backyard, so if you hear birds or if you hear cars or trucks, it's because I'm outside. Just know that. So I thought it would be fitting to be outside in my backyard with this greenery in the background, and you'll see why shortly. But first, I'm going to introduce our topic for this week. So if you remember, the things that I've been talking about are design and production elements in the theater. So today we're going to tackle one of my most favorite things about the theater, and that is scenic design. Cool, I'm really excited about this. So this video is going to be part informational. Also, my dog is here, right there. So she's going to walk around. Her name is Frankie. Anyway. So for this video, this is going to be part informational where I share with you what I know about scenic design, and then I'm going to give you a challenge and hopefully you can become a scenic designer yourself and draw an idea for a set. Cool, let's get started. This week will be quick, I think, but I love this topic, so if you have any questions after this video about scenic design, please feel free to message them to us or message me your questions or whatever, because I'd be totally happy to talk about this. And whenever we can get back someday to Keystone Theatrics, hopefully you guys can help me with some scenic design stuff, whether that be painting or coming up with ideas for a set. That'd be really cool. Anyway, here we go. Let's talk about scenic design. So being a production major at college, I spend a lot of time taking design disciplines, and scenic design is by far my favorite design part of the theater. So I've taken a few classes on it, so I'm going to share with you my knowledge. So first, let's start with, what does a set designer or scenic designer do? So a scenic designer is in charge of the atmosphere of the play and the musical and what you see on the stage when you go to see a show. So this could be scenery from like what's built on the stage, or this could be furniture that's on the stage, or carpets, or a painted floor, maybe even props. Whatever the scenic designer imagines being on stage is what we will talk about. So this changes based on your scenic designer. So there's different elements that go into a scenic design. Some designs for a set are really simple and may just include a backdrop and a chair or a table. Some are really elaborate, and maybe the scenic designer wants to build a house on stage, or build an entire room on stage, or build a cityscape on stage. Or maybe they're super abstract, and so there might be fabric everywhere, or different colors painted on things, and so it looks a little bit different than what you think it might. So a scenic designer basically creates the world of the play or musical. So you create the atmosphere in the world that the audience sees when they watch a play, and that the actor experiences when they do a show. So I hope that kind of cleared up for you what a set designer does if you didn't know already. So they could also handle things like draperies, which would be curtains or borders or something that cuts off what you see. So like if you go to a show and there's a big red curtain in front of it, maybe a scenic designer designed that in. Maybe not. That's cool. Some set designs are very literal, and some are very vague and up for interpretation. Or sometimes scenery doesn't move at all. It stays still for the whole time, and it's a stationary set. Or sometimes it moves a lot, and it's either on wheels or it could be on a track, which is like a little conveyor belt thing that pulls, it's like machinery that moves the pieces of the set around the stage and across the stage. So sometimes sets move, sometimes they stay still. Good to know. Alright, so that's pretty simple. I hope you guys knew that already maybe, but we're learning. This is stuff that I would usually teach to you at the summer camps, so you probably already know it because we've probably already talked about it. But if you're just joining us and you're new to this, I hope you're learning something maybe. Yeah. Cool. So another thing that I wanted to just talk about is stages. So stages are all different based on what theater you're at. So a traditional stage is a proscenium stage. So it's where the stage is up and you see the stage and the audience is just on one side and you're just watching them. Kind of like at a movie theater. And so it's kind of like this. You have the stage and there's backstage and then the audience is just on one side looking in. There's also another type of stage called a thrust. So this is when the stage is surrounded by the audience on three sides. And so if you have the stage right here, right? And then you have the audience on three sides and then like a wall or backstage here. So that means that the audience can see different sides of the stage and can see around the actors. There's also something called theater in the round, which is where it's kind of like an arena, like a hockey rink, where you can see all of the sides of the actors. You sit in like a circle and it's all around them, all around the actors. And so this makes it really interesting as a scenic designer because you have to design a 360 set. So something like Fun Home. There was a show called Fun Home and that was in the round. And so the scenic designer had to design all of the different sides. So you could see, if you saw a table, you have to see all the sides of the table and that means you have to have a lot of detail. But that could be really fun and really cool. So today, we're gonna talk about a story called Little Red Riding Hood. I thought that maybe all of you would know that already, so we could use it as a jumping off point. If you don't, it's about a little girl named Little Red Riding Hood who goes into the forest to visit her grandmother, and a wolf follows her into her grandmother's house, and I'm not gonna spoil the end. You have to go read it yourself. So if you don't know Little Red Riding Hood, go Google it right now and figure out the plot if you want to. Or I can just tell you some things about it. So Little Red Riding Hood is important because it's a simple story that I think we can use to talk about scenic design. So in scenic design, we start out with a blank canvas. So I'm using this black box right here to represent my stage. So the things that I draw inside of this box are like what a scenic design would be. So a scenic designer, when they design a set, could do a sketch of a set, or they could do an online rendering of a set that's digital. Scenic designers also might deal with painting a set, so you get to pick what colors things are, what patterns things are, what textures. So this can be super fun. So it might be helpful to start out just drawing your ideas for a set. Cool. So if you could draw just a blank rectangle on your page, that would be great. When you do that, join me again. Cool. So, what kinds of things do you think could be in Little Red Riding Hood? Are you thinking? I'll tell you what I think, at least. I think you could put trees for the forest. I think you could put the grandmother's house and trees, or just the grandmother's house. I know there's some versions that involve a bakery. There's a musical that involves a bakery in this plot line. So maybe if you know a version of the story that has a bakery in it, you could put a bakery. If your director or writer is doing a different version of Little Red Riding Hood, you could add your own things. But for now, I'm gonna stick with a possible bakery, maybe some trees, what I think is a forest, and maybe grandmother's house. So you could have something super, super simple where you just have a lot of colors on a backdrop and you just have a bakery, right? You just, on stage, you would just have a little building that is a bakery. Or maybe you also have an idea that's just a forest. So you just have a forest and grandmother's house. That could be another set design. Or maybe you're doing a super cool version and it's funky and cool, and maybe grandma lives in a tree house. My paper stuck. Maybe grandma lives in a tree house, and so your stage has a big tree house on it with a little ladder step thing, and Grandma lives in a treehouse, and that's what the set is, and it's about Little Red going to that. So a scenic design could be anything that you want it to be. So I want you to draw what you think a cool Little Red Riding Hood set would be. Maybe it'll have trees, maybe it'll just be colors. Maybe you'll just have a bunch of, kind of like this one that I drew. Maybe you'll just have a set that's a lot of different colors that you feel like the set could look like. It could be super abstract. It could be really literal. You could just draw a bunch of trees and have that be your scenic design. Every set designer is going to design something different, which is the super cool thing about design, is that each designer is unique to themselves and nobody else can take your ideas because you think them in your head. So I hope this was a really quick video explaining to you inside the mind of a scenic designer and the things that we have to take into account when designing a set, from furniture to the actual structure of the stage to colors that are involved in the scenic designs. So start by drawing your blank canvas of a stage, and then draw some really cool scenic designs. I think this one is my favorite. So this right here is my scenic design for Little Red Riding Hood. Take a picture and send it to us at Keystone Theatrics on Facebook or Instagram. I would love to see your scenic designs. Awesome. Well, from my dog and I, happy Thrifty Thursday. Tune in tomorrow for Fun Friday. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And come back next week for more really fun design activities with me, Miss Rowan, and maybe my dog, Frankie.